When people question whether or not the story of the resurrection is true, one of the things I love to point out is that the first eyewitnesses were women. Now, you might be wondering, how is it that the eyewitness testimony of a woman makes this story so credible? Here's why. Because if you were going to tell a lie, you would not say that a woman was the first person to see Jesus after he rose from the dead. Please don't miss this very important detail. As the lesson points out, back in Jesus' day, the status of a woman was so low that they were not considered to be reliable witnesses. Now, if you were going to fabricate a story this big, then you would have chosen, a more credible witness. You would have said that an important and respected man was the first to witness Christ's resurrection. But in this story, it is a woman who is the key eyewitness, and not just any woman, but a woman, she used to be demon-possessed and a prostitute. Now, the odds of anyone believing the testimony of such a person, they were highly unlikely. The fact that Mary and several other women are the first to encounter Jesus in this story is proof positive that the story has to be real because it was counterintuitive to the culture. Think about this. In this story, it is the women who have both great courage and great faith. Compare that to the men in this story who display anything but courage and faith. Now, what man would write a story where the women are braver than the men? Especially when one of the men in this story is the author himself. No self-respecting man back in the day would have told such a story, unless, of course, the story was actually true. Now, add to that how willing the women in this story were to receive the good news, while the men stubbornly refused to accept it. Thomas would go so far as to say, unless I see it for myself and I actually touch the wounds and the scars, I'm not believing a word you say. That was the men. Now, the point that the author of today's lesson is making, and by the way, other scholars have made the same point, and it is this. If the story of the resurrection were a lie, then the main hero in this story would have been someone like Peter, the leader of the church. But instead, the hero, the person of real faith, was a redeemed prostitute. And that, my friends, would never have been written unless the story were actually true. Well, that was our nugget for today. Again, have a look at your lesson, and I'll see you tomorrow.